Hold up. Let me situate this. Give me a second. Hold up. Okay. Give me 1 second. I need to arrange this screen real quick. Okay, so again, welcome everyone. My name is Chanel, and I will be doing the interview prep for tonight. Okay. So the agenda for tonight, we are going to see 2 short videos. We're going to do a team building exercise, and then I have 8 interview questions that I've prepared. Okay, so the first video we're going to watch is just something to lighten the mood. So I'm going to start the first video.
So my wife keeps saying that I need to make more money so that we can I don't know, survive or something like that. So I figured, how hard can it be to get a job, right? I mean, all my friends have jobs. Like, for example, Jose is unemployed. Oh, my buddy Sammy, no, he's in jail. Oh, I got it. My friend Constantino, he makes a ton of money selling drugs illegally. Shit, yeah, I might be in trouble.
Thanks for coming in today, Mr.
Diego.
Diego is your last name?
No.
Diego is your first name?
Yes.
So, what's your last name? Your resume just says Diego.
Smith.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Why?
Well, that's a very American last name, and you don't look. Never mind. Smith it is.
Wait, what? Just because I'm Hispanic, I can't be Smith?
That's not what I meant at all, sir.
How do you know my father is not Irish?
Is he?
No, definitely not. He's very Mexican. If he were any more Mexican, he'd be in a mariachi band.
Okay. Anyway, your resume is extremely impressive.
Really? Oh, yeah, of course it is.
Graduated from Harvard.
Yep.
5 years experience in finance.
Yep.
7 years in project management.
Yep.
And your last job, you tripled profits in just 1 quarter?
Everything you're saying is 100% the truth.
So, tell me about yourself. Who is Diego Smith?
Okay, I'm just going to be honest here, right? I'm not that impressive, to be honest. The truth is, I'm married and my wife is terrible. That's it.
Mine too.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, she's always nagging me all the time, It's really, really, really frustrating and annoying and frustrating.
Can't live with them, can't live without them. Am I right?
Yeah, I could definitely live without her, but yes, I get it.
So, tell me, why do you want this job?
I already told you, my wife wants me to make more money.
How much you currently make in a year?
Let's see, before taxes, $0.
Why do you want to leave your current job?
Oh, because my job doesn't currently exist.
Wait, you're unemployed?
Correct.
So, what do you want?
My wife said I need to make more money. I don't know how many times I have to tell you that.
What would you say is your greatest weakness?
I guess that I really love tequila.
Tell me about a time you made a mistake.
The day I got married.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Not married.
I love the honesty. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. Can I have this job or what?
Look, this isn't really company policy, but I like you. I get you. You speak your mind, and that is refreshing. Plus, your resume is the most impressive thing I've seen, so what the hell? You're hired.
Wow, this is incredible. When do I start?
We'll just have to have you fill out the paperwork.
Cool.
And you just have to take a drug test.
Wait, what?
A drug test. As long as you don't have any alcohol or drugs in your system, you should be fine.
Yeah, I quit.
All right, so I just wanted to share that. I thought it was so funny. So I just wanted to share that. Okay, so on to the next. Okay, so for tonight, Victoria already touched on it. We don't want to talk too much out of turn, and we also want to make sure we focus on the raise your hand feature. So we're going to establish a ground rule for tonight, and that's going to lead us into the next video. All right, so here's the next video.
When you're in school and in the classroom, you got something to say. When your teacher asks a question, you know they can answer right away. Before you speak, raise your hand up high. Just raise it up, 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 raise it up. And I said, raise your hand up high. Raise your hand up high. Put your fingers to the sky. It's a very simple rule when you want to talk to school. Raise it up, 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 raise it up.
All right, so that was the second video. Okay, ground rule. Raise your hand. Thank you in advance. Okay, with that being said, can I have one volunteer to monitor the raise your hand and the comment section, please? One volunteer for me, please.
Chanel, I'll do that.
Thank you. That would be Lady N. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, so the next activity that I would like to get into is a team building exercise. So as you know, as a Scrum Master, we all work in teams, and some of us work remote and some of us work on site. And one of the main things that we need to focus on is team building exercises. So I know we've all been in teams where we don't even know our coworkers and we don't know anything about them. So what I like to do with my teams is team building exercise. So one thing that I like to do is ask questions like, what is your favorite food, TV show, or color? So I'm going to go ahead and start that. So my favorite food is salmon. My favorite TV show is Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
And my favorite color is black. Okay, so who would like to go ahead and help us out in this team building exercise? I can't see the hand raises. So Lady N, if you could help me out with that.
Okay, maybe we start with I love this name. Mopelola Jimo. I love that name. Can you start?
Thank you. Yeah, so my favorite food would be noodles. I can eat noodles in any variant it comes. My favorite TV show is Criminal Minds. My favorite color is black or white, neutral. Yeah,
Is it black or white or is it neutral?
neutral. I like black. I like white. It depends on my mood.
Okay. I see. Okay, please, when you're done talking, lower your hand, please. Natalie Savage. Savage.
Hi guys. My favorite fruit is brown stew snapper. My favorite show is Martin, and my favorite color is orange.
Awesome. SM.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Can y'all see me?
Your video is not. It's on now. Yep.
Okay, I'm showing you my favorite food.
Oh my God.
It is
What's that?
pounded yam and a goosey soup.
My God.
For those of you that are not African or Nigerian, this is fufu and soup. Woo! Victoria.
And I love the way you eat it.
Mm-hmm. So that's my favorite food. And my favorite color is mauve, like the pale kind of pastel pink. And my favorite TV show, I would have to say, I don't really watch television, so I can't say. Oh yeah, Grey's Anatomy. I had to pick one. Yep.
Thanks, SM. Ibironke.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
My favorite food is my local food, ofada and ofada sauce, ofada rice and the sauce. Call it ayamase here. My favorite TV show is Tobacco 2, Who Want to Be a Millionaire. And my favorite color is white and a very bright color. Thank you.
Thank you, Bironke, for sharing. Anjola.
Hi everyone. So my favorite food is Thai food. My favorite TV show is Castle and Castle, and then my favorite color is blue.
Castle and Castle. You must like law. Okay. Thank you. Saint.
Hi everyone. My favorite food will be jollof rice and fish. Don't judge me.
The way you called it there is like I should start eating it now.
Yeah. And then my favorite TV show, I think I will go with Channel's first video. I want to know, I like crazy and creative stuff like that. It make, it throw me off. So that brings me to comedy. Dave Chappelle, any stand-up or, just comedy. That's my favorite TV show. And my favorite color should is green camouflage. I love green, I love camouflage, but I was afraid of contact, so I couldn't pick the military. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Sid. Since you love comedy, I hope you're going to bring us some fun in this house. Progress. Oh,
Hi everyone. Yeah. My favorite food is fried beans and fried plantain. Beans
oh,
and dodo, as we call it. My favorite TV show is How to Get Away with Murder. Not like I try to murder anyone. And my color is anything between mustard yellow and gold.
awesome. Thanks. Ola Wale.
Hi everyone, good evening to you all. My favorite color is deep purple and white, and my favorite food would be fried plantain and fried gizzard. That sounds hard, and I hope you guys understand. And I'm not a TV person, but I watch soccer a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Ola Wale. Olulade.
Oh, hi everyone. So my favorite food would have to be it's a tie. It's between it's between beans and plantain and fried egg and yam. And my favorite TV show would have to be Blacklist. I love Raymond Reddington, and my favorite color is orange, just like Natalie. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for sharing. Chanel, I don't see any more hands.
Okay, has everyone that wanted to speak, has everyone gotten a chance to speak?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna move on.
Okay, I think I need to introduce, this is Srini here.
Uh-huh.
So I'm the senior Scrum Master. I would like to know the interview concepts of safe funnel. Yeah, my favorite color is blue and gold.
What's your favorite food? Did you say that?
My favorite food is the Indian food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of rice and some kind of sambar dal.
Biryani?
I was just about to say that.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I
Thank
love
you.
it. Love it.
Thank you, Allah. Yeah, great. Thank you.
And then Jackie. Jackie, did you just put your hand up?
Jackie, I don't watch much.
There's a Jackie here. No, there's a Jackie that has her hand up.
Okay.
Jackie, did you want to speak?
Hello. Sorry, I didn't unmute myself before. So my favorite food is matoke. Only those ones from Uganda know what matoke is. Bananas, but not the regular bananas. And my favorite TV show is The Big Bang Theory. I love to pick their brains. Colors, I like all colors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then Felicia.
Felicia, and then Sheguya can go next.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Felicia. My favorite food is jollof rice and plantain. And my favorite TV show right now is typical. The new show, the new South African show that just came out, Young Famous African, I think. That's the name of it. And then my favorite color is purple.
Thank you, Shiguya.
Hi everyone, my name is Isaac Seguya. Yes, my favorite color
all bright colors, but I love cars in black. Then I enjoy matoke with pilau rice that biryani with goat's meat, yeah. With then my best sauce is fried dry fish with Guinness. People call it peanut. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Oh, my favorite show is Suits. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Shiguya. Oyinda. Chanel, for how long can we do this?
We started kind of with I only have 8 questions, so we'll take Ayunda and Khadijah, and then we can go on to the next one. So the next 2, and then we'll go on.
Okay. Oyinda, can you go next?
Hi everyone. My favorite food is white rice and ayamasha, and then my favorite TV show is Grey's Anatomy, and my favorite color is orange. Thank you.
Thank you. Khadijah.
Hi everyone. Hello. Hi everyone. My
Hi.
favorite, I don't have a favorite food. I like trying all dishes. My favorite show is Power, and I like playing with bright colors.
Thank you. Okay, so that was a team building exercise. It gave us the opportunity to get to know our team. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. And then we learned something different about people that we didn't know. So now we're going to actually get into the interview prep session. And we're going to start with our first question for the night. And the first question for the night is, what changes have you effectively implemented within your team? What changes? Because, as Scrum Masters, we're considered the change agents. So when we go on interviews, one of the most important questions or questions that they always want to know is, what change did you bring about? What processes or what did you introduce? So would anyone like to take that question? Lady N, is it Saint and then Felicia? I think that's all I see. So Saint, do you want to go ahead and take that question, and then Felicia after that, please?
All right, thank you. I've been working with CSS for past year now. I came in and I saw that during our sprint planning, we are always struggling to arrive at a particular point, and then we have to spend more time in going back and forth with getting to understand the technical part of the user stories. And so what I do, I came up with an idea of I and the product owner doing a refinement of the stories every other day. And when need be, we have to schedule and invite the technical lead to help in unraveling the technical aspects to the product owner, and so that we can have a user story that meets the inverse criteria. And by the time we start any sprint planning, the team have a technical understanding and a well defined stories, and we move on to story estimate, and we are able to utilize the time that is slated for the sprint planning, and we are achieving our sprint planning moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Felicia?
Okay. Thank you for that question. So one of the changes that I vote to my company would be that the current team that I'm working with, they did not see the value in Scrum sprint retrospective. And as a Scrum Master, I know the benefit that, after having a sprint, the benefit that you could get from having a sprint retrospective. So I ended up facilitating a meeting with them and just letting them see the value of what it means to have a sprint retrospective. At first, the team still was very resistant to it. They just didn't think they needed it. They didn't think, there was any type of value in it. But as time progresses and I continue observing the team, I was able to see, different reasons why certain team members just didn't value sprint retrospective. And currently, right now, my team and I do sprint retrospective. They enjoy it and they think it's actually one of the best ceremonies that they go to, just for the fact that they understand that sprint retrospective is not just for the sprint, the current sprint that we're holding. It's for anything in between that we feel like, hey, as a team, we kind of want to change, or we want to improve, because being in an agile space is having continuous improvement, and from there my team and I are able to have a better sprint retrospective, and now they see the value in it.
Thank you.
Khadija? Khadija, is your hand raised? If you're speaking, you're on mute. Any more persons who want to try?
Does anyone else want to try that question? Because that's a really good question. What changes have you effectively implemented?
Consti, I see a Consti.
So the way that I've affected change in my team is when I got into this team, I realized that my developers, they were using a lot of shortcuts, and we had a lot of defects because I realized that there were a lot of technical debt. So I introduced pair programming within my developers, and all this, meaning that two developers one was coding and the other was reviewing, and this really helped to reduce the number of defects.
Awesome contribution. Thank you, Consti.
Does anyone else want to give it a shot, or shall we move on?
Maybe I can say something real quick.
Sure.
Okay, so the question is, what changes have you effectively implemented? Okay, so I would say with my team, I think where I've made the most impactful change for my team is to get them to start talking and to get them to start collaborating. I think my team, initially, they're distributed, some onshore, some are offshore. And so it seemed like everyone on the team was very quiet. So as I got to know each person one-on-one, I got to kind of know their characteristics. Through the retrospective, when we finally did our first team retrospective, is when I really did a team building exercise to really get them to engage and to make them feel comfortable that they were in a safe space where it's okay to speak up. Each person got their voices heard, and we really kind of dug into the Scrum values and then went into the Agile principles and talked a little bit more about collaboration and the importance of it. And I think since then, I've seen a really big turnaround, and now everything is, they're talking, they're communicating. If there's an issue with a story, they're reporting it immediately. So I've really seen a big change with the team. I am half asleep. I have Benadryl and Tylenol, so I'm kind of out of it. But anyways, that's just a quick.
Thank you. That was a wonderful response. Does anyone else want to give it a try, or shall we move on to the next question? All right, so we're going to move on to the next question. The next question is, Using the STAR method, tell me about a time you received negative feedback. So the STAR method is you want to phrase your question as in a situation, a task, an action, and a result. And I phrase it as phrase your answer in the STAR technique is because I know Scrum Masters that during their interview, the interviewee has been asking them to use this method. So it's a good practice time as to how to phrase your answers. If you're not familiar with it, it's something that I would familiarize myself with. Would anyone like to give it a try? And you don't actually, I mean, if you don't know how to actually use the STAR technique, you can just tell me about a time you received negative feedback and basically how you handled that. Because as Scrum Masters, we're going to get feedback from our teams, product owners, and whosoever else you're working with. So we need to know how to accept feedback and stay positive and respond well to it. Would anyone like to give that a try? Everyone's so quiet tonight. What's going on? Talk to me. What's going on? Huh? What's going on tonight, y'all? Y'all not answering questions.
I could try.
Please, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. So using the STAR method, talk about a time you received negative feedback. So there was a time when I joined a new team, and essentially this team was going through kind of a new transformation. They didn't know what to do. I was hired as an agile coach. So then when I joined, I partnered with the product owner to kind of groom the backlog and set up the Scrum meetings, and we were ready to go. But essentially, this product owner had not received any Scrum training, and so he scheduled the meetings and decided to lead all Scrum meetings. At a certain point, my team felt like I was useless on the team. I didn't have any value, though I did coaching on the side. So in order to make myself relevant, what I did was I had a conversation with my PO, and we agreed to do a team charter where we identified each person's roles and responsibilities. So Scrum meeting scheduling and facilitation was handed over to me. I scheduled these meetings and began to run them like I should. And so that is how I overcame the negative feedback.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to give that a try? You don't necessarily have to use the STAR technique if that's not working for you, but I just want everyone to be aware of that and try to maybe practice using that on your own, at least with like one question, because actually I'm not too familiar with it and it's something that I'm working on myself. Would anyone else like to give that a try? The quiet people, the ones that are usually talking, are so quiet tonight. And you know who you are, some of the people. Or should I call names? Does it? Because I'm calling names. You quiet tonight. You know how people.
I was here multitasking. That's why.
Y'all got me looking. Nobody talking, so I'm happy.
All right, no problem.
Thank
no
you.
problem. Let me stop what I'm doing.
No problem.
So, anyways, I remember there was a time, right? I had come to a new team, and one of the first days that I came, they had their internal review. And the way they did it was, because this was a mature team, so they came in and they was doing, they were going ahead and doing the review. right? So they did an internal review. So the next time that they did this review, sorry. So the next time that they did this review, I just sat there like because I checked whether they were ready for their internal review. So they were ready, and well, they gave me the verbatim that they were ready. Excuse me. So long story short, one of the team leads then calls me into a meeting, and he was asking me like, aren't you supposed to be, the servant leader and all this stuff? And I was like, what are you talking about? Well, the last review, we were kind of stranded. We didn't know the coordinator. I said, the thing went perfectly fine to me. I didn't know what was the deal. So no, and I knew what I had to do. I knew it was me who was supposed to facilitate that meeting, but because they seemed to know what they were doing, I didn't do it. And I was caught embarrassed a little bit with my pants down. So that's when when you said that, that's the first thing that came to my mind. So after that, I actually took a more preemptive view because there was oftentimes there's some people that can demo. Like if you were designing some back-end architecture, how do you demo that? And I kind of coached some team members to do, just put something on the screen and explain what we're seeing, sort of reviews. But they didn't necessarily have to feel like they had to demo only things that have like a UI perspective. So that's how I turned something that's like negative like that to positive.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to give that a try? I'm gonna call names again. So the name that I'm gonna call is AK. Would you like to contribute to that question, please?
Oh,
Oh, no problem.
yeah, let me call you back real quick. Hello. Okay, negative feedback. For okay, I have this I got a team that was pretty much a delivery team that, so pretty much we're doing Kanban, right? So we have deliveries that we do in 3 days, 4 days at times, not the usual 2 weeks. And when I got into this team, they were not doing agile. So the best possible thing that I came up with was Kanban. And pretty much I was getting negative feedback from almost everyone in my team, in the sense that they were not used to it. They were resistant because they had a certain way of doing work. So top management just sends an email without the stories being pointed or anything, and they go straight to a jump, right? And hiring management called me up and said they wanted Scrum, right? That I came in, I'm not doing Scrum. And I told them, yes, I understand. Based on the way we're doing our releases and based on the fact that I am in the promos team, we can't do the regular 2-week sprint because we don't have that time as every other team in the company. So I presented them the Kanban process, which was direct productivity. And I gave them a plan and I suggested better ideas of how to go about the stories, how to take in work and how to finish work without us being overstaffed. So that was the negative feedback I got because they didn't understand, and I used it as a plus because I used it to educate them on Kanban and propose it, and pretty much they actually accepted it. And it took some time, but they all eventually warmed up to it. So that's one of the situations that I got negative feedback and I used it as a plus. And the other one I used that I got as a negative feedback were from two of my developers in another job, in the sense that they never wanted to come for meetings, they never wanted to show up for meetings, and they kept telling me it's useless for them to come to the meeting. The meeting doesn't really help them because they came to 2 meetings and they still did not achieve what they were hoping the team could have achieved. So I made them understand in a team, it's not about what you achieve, it's about what the entire team achieves. So he was telling me when he used to work under the waterfall system, he could cover this number of codes and this number of processes in a week. But since he started doing the agile thing and working with the rest of the team, he's brought his work to half of it. So I was like, okay, yes, that means individually your productivity has dropped. But if you look at the direction of the team likewise, the productivity is increased. And I had to remind him that agile is all about the team. If we're taking an L, the whole team is taking an L. If it's a W, the whole team takes the W. So yes, I got that negative feedback from him because he says productivity is reduced. I say, yeah, because you're working solo and you were doing these things and they were sitting there and just waiting. But right now, the little you're doing, it's helping the whole team advance. And in the long run, the whole team is going to be much more productive than you. So those are the two experiences I had. That's how I tackled them. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Thank you for that response. I hope everyone else got something out of that answer. And I don't see any hands raised, so we're going to move on to question number 3. Okay, so question 3 is, how do you set up a new team from scratch? So a hint would be you can use a Tuckman's model. It's not, you don't necessarily have to. So within a Tuckman's model, the stages of team development is forming, storming, norming, and performing. So if you can answer your question somewhere that just touches on any of those stages, you don't have to say it like word for word, but if someone can just elaborate on how do you set up a new team from scratch. So that's just say, for instance, your team, your organization is transforming from waterfall to agile Scrum. How would you set up that team? How would you introduce, well, I mean, you probably would have an agile coach working with you, but how would you go about building that team up to be high performing in the initial phases? Like, what are some of the first steps you would do in building a team? I can throw in a little bit of hints. So one thing that I would do, and I would like someone to hopefully answer the question, I would start with in the forming stage. So in that stage, you want to let everyone get to know each other. So you can do a team building exercise, like for instance, one that we did tonight. So you just want to do something to introduce the other team members to each other and lighten the mood. So that's one thing that you can do. And then another thing you would do is like work on the team agreement, working on a working agreement, the do's and don'ts of the team. So would anyone like to elaborate on what you would do in forming a team or how you would go about that? Anyone? Okay, please, Khadijah. Thank you. Khadijah, you can go ahead, please.
Thanks for the opportunity. So I will start with the forming stage, like you said. I will introduce everybody to each other, just to break the silence, talk about each other for a while, and just to be familiar. And to the storming stage, I will start discussing about the Agile framework, the manifesto, why Agile, why we are choosing Agile, the values of Agile. And I'll also talk about how itself, the complex problem, how Agile is how we maximize value, in the storming stage. I'll coach them about them on the tools we use like Jira, how to track the burn down charts on the storming stage. And the norming stage, that's when they'll get familiarized with Agile. They already know the basics because we already did that in the storming stage. So when it comes to the norming stage, they're already familiarized with what we discussed earlier. So they start asking each other, okay, in the normie stage, okay, maybe some, like it's gonna be interactive in the normie stage. And sorry, 1 second. The performing stage, that's when they start asking questions. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. That's when they start asking questions, you know, the value, and I coach them on how to remove dependency in the performing stage, you know, and how they should be self-organizing, collaborative. I'll suggest ways to them, you know, the importance of collaborative work, teamwork. I'll coach them. You know, I'm not going to teach them no more. It's coaching them this time. And their journey stage is it's going to be areas where, you know, we look out for the customer satisfaction. You know, this is what we're doing because you're building a project because of the end users, because we're trying to maximize value. So that's how I'm going to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Margaret, would you like to add something to that?
Yes. I would just say that, you know, setting up a new team, I think it's important to know your why you're doing what you're doing. So basically having everyone understand why they're doing what they're doing, what problem are they trying to resolve, really talking to individuals and as a team also trying to understand their mindset, where they're coming from, what they know about Agile or Scrum or whichever framework that the organization or the team is using, and really understanding the importance of collaboration. And I would go over the Scrum values, I would go over the Agile Manifesto principles so that when they do start forming that it's all making sense. And I would make sure that I create an atmosphere where everyone is comfortable to ask questions and not intimidated because they don't know something. So that's the basic. I think that's where I would start.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to add to building a team? And you can talk about again, like the working agreement. Okay, Bawa, please.
Yes. I will first start off by introducing myself to them and to let them know what my background is. I then would go through a review of what model they've been using for the work they've been doing before I arrived. I then would introduce the Agile framework to them. And particularly, I would highlight what the relative advantages of Agile is over what they've been using before. Let's say it was waterfall. I also would now let them realize that, unlike how long it normally would take for them to see. Hello?
No, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Joe Jackson, that we look forward to incremental value at the end of each sprint. That is after I have explained all the ceremonies to them. And also, I would try to evaluate what the group dynamic had been before I joined them to see if I would have to name faces for an easy flow of information and resources and performance. I would then encourage them to address me on an individual basis if there might be any impediments I would have to address, you know, even before the team is constituted to work with the new framework, the Agile framework. Then I would specifically inform them on the advantages of Scrum over whatever old methodology they've been using. And I would also let them realize that since it's work in progress, that it should be comfortable enough to, let me know whatever questions they might have. That's about it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't see any more hands raised. So everyone gave good answers. And, there's sometimes can be no right or wrong answer, just more detailed answers than others. But I think everyone pretty much gave a basic understanding of how they would do it. Okay, we have one more hand, Tracy. And after Tracy, we're going to go on to the next question. Tracy, please. Thank you.
All right. Let me give this a try. So how do you set up a new team from scratch? So essentially, like Scrum Masters, I think the team has already been put together. I think first thing I'll do is get to understand each person, like get to know them first and understand what their knowledge of Agile is. And from there, probably tailor my coaching to suit everyone on the team. And then when we kickstart, we will, as the team progresses, we will probably get to the storming phase where we will get a whole lot of conflict, people not trusting each other. So I guess it will be time to kind of monitor team dynamics and find ways to get people to work together, build trust, and trust people to focus on the goal and keep going. From there, we'll probably move to the norming phase. Now everybody's able to commit to the goal, trust each other, know that people are doing their job, be self-organizing. And I think the team will move on to the high performing phase. So that's what I thought about it.
Thank you so much, Tracy. So we're going to move on to the next question. So the next question is, briefly walk me through, pick one. So you can pick a sprint planning, daily scrum, sprint review, or sprint retrospective. Take me through how you would conduct one of these ceremonies. One of the easiest ones to do, if someone is not sure, you can go ahead and try the daily scrum. Would anyone like to try it? Okay. Yeah.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, for me.
Okay, yes, I can pick the daily scrum. So for the daily scrum, what I would normally do is have the Jira board open with the stories that we're supposed to be working on that sprint, and then wait for the team to get on the call. Once they get on the call, we go over the Jira stories and where things are. The developers talk about what they've done or where they are with the stories. Once that's done, then we talk about their individual startups, meaning they'll tell me what they did yesterday, what they plan to do today, and then also let me know if there are any blockers or impediments. If there are any blockers or impediments, I note them down so I can follow up with that. And then during the discussion, I also try to see if anyone has any parking lot items. If they do, then we wait till after the starters to go over the parking lot items. Then I also ask them to see, okay, do you have anything else outside of the starters for work? Meaning anything personal that I need to know if you have a time off or anything. Then they let the team know. Then from there, we proceed to the parking lot section. We talk about any items that they want to discuss. And once that's done, we adjourn the meeting. But the starters meeting itself is 15 minutes, not more than that. And the parking lot items, we time box that to 15 minutes also. That's it.
Thank you, Tracy. One thing I would just like to add to that is don't say that it's a status meeting, because some people can really be a stickler on that. It's not a status meeting. It's just a chance to inspect and adapt the process to make sure that everything's transparent and just to see if, if everyone's having issues or, where we are within the project. But other than that, you did a great job. And John, your hand was up. Did you want to speak? Very verbal.
No, I'm just trying to talk about the status and thing, and you said it, so thank you.
Oh, no problem, John, but you can surely pick another ceremony. You know how you like to talk.
No, not today.
Oh, not feeling well?
Let me listen for a little bit.
Okay, no problem. So would
Yeah.
anyone else like to walk us through how you would conduct a ceremony?
Margaret.
Margaret, yes.
I'm still so sleepy, but I'm gonna try. I guess I will pick sprint planning. So usually before my team meets for sprint planning, usually the developers will have their own meeting and they will already create the dependencies. If there are dependencies within stories before the sprint. And then as we go into the sprint planning, I will assess the capacity of the team to see who's going to be out. You know, we normally do a 2-week sprint. So if anyone is going to be out more for, you know, 2 or 3 days or more, then we have a team agreement where we say, do we have someone to, you know, carry on that story if that person is going to be out longer than the appropriate amount of time to be out. So anyways, with sprint planning, the developers will select their stories from already prioritized product backlog, and I will carry it into whichever sprint that we're in. As we go through the selection of those stories, I will make sure that I ask clarifying questions to make sure that everything, the requirements, everything is clear with that story. And then if they have questions, we open up the story, we go through it. The developers at that time also will go ahead and create the subtasks for those stories, like PO review, code review, all the various testing and things like that. And then we move those stories as they are already prioritized into the sprint. And then I will also make sure that this is sprint planning. Okay, you know, right before we even start that, what I do is I close out the sprint and I make sure that the board is ready to be closed with the developers. The PO is there. Usually it's our sprint planning is about an hour and a half. So we do that, and I just make sure that everything is clear. Everyone understands what, you know, what they're getting themselves into, that they are committed to that story, and we know that within the 2 weeks time that we are going to have a product increment. So at the end of that, making their selection of the stories, then we go through, you know, make sure the time is correct, make sure that once everything is selected, then you are able to start the sprint.
Thank you, Margaret. And one other thing I would like to add to that is sometimes, not sometimes. So when you do backlog refinement prior to sprint planning, that also helps cut down on the time. So a couple days before you know you're about to go into sprint planning, you want to check with the PO and just to make sure that the stories are ready to go and that the stories are prioritized. But some people do backlog refinement during the sprint planning. So it depends on your organization.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, you know, it's just dependent. So remember, sprint is a framework. So it's
Right.
open for interpretation. That's what they say, that you can add and subtract things that does not work for your organization. So again, that was a good, thank you. So then we have, go ahead and pronounce your name for me. Who has
It's fine. You can just say Ronki.
Ronki. Ronki?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
All right. I'm just try to give it a shot. I would like to talk about the sprint planning. Okay, so we have a 2-week sprint, and the sprint starts on a Wednesday and ends in 2 weeks after on Tuesday. So the sprint planning is done on Wednesday, the first day of the sprint. So I utilize the best practice of the product backlog refinement to refine, estimate, and add details to the stories in order to make sure that we make our planning section seamless. So, so the next thing I'll do is I would also share our velocity and capacity with the product owner so he knows what commitments it will make to the stakeholder. I meet with the product owner a day or two of the start of the sprint to ensure that he has an idea of what the sprint goal and the items we will be working on in the sprint. And so also to discuss the user stories in the backlog, we will talk about the high priority items and we discuss any dependency that might, prevent us from selecting any of those user stories from the top of the backlog. So I also select the user story for the sprint. We select the top priority stories so that we can commit to deliver in the upcoming sprints based on the business value. Ensure that estimation is done at the grooming meeting that is still valid. And also we break the items into tasks. We assign hours to each of the tasks to make sure that we have enough capacity and that each team member has the right proportion of work to do. Lastly, I do a commitment on a roll call, asking the team member their commitment level of completing the user stories. Like I use the 5I, I use the number 5 as the I and the number 1 as the low. So that's all I can say.
Thank you, Ronki. Okay, I don't see any more hands raised, so we're actually going to move on to the next question. Okay.
All right, this is Felix. Can I give a feedback? Sorry, I couldn't raise my hand.
Sure.
Yeah, I heard that the last speaker mentioned hours. I think I know some organizations do story pointing hours, but it's actually it's not a good practice. As a Scrum Master, you should encourage your team to do your estimation in story points and not hours, because hours are absolute. If you're trying to look at relative estimation, it's recommended teams do their estimations using relative estimation. So I just wanted to point that out and try to correct the last speaker. Thank you.
That's true that there's always best practices. So when you go into an organization that's not practicing the best practice and you see that it's an ANSI pattern, some organizations, they may go for it and they may not. But as a Scrum Master, you can always influence them to do the right thing or influence a different way. But if it's working for them and they're delivering on time, then I would just also keep that in mind also. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question. The next question is, other than velocity and capacity, what metrics do you use and why? Other than velocity and capacity, what metrics do you use and why? What metrics do you use? Does anyone want to give that a try?
Sprint burn down charts, release burn down.
Okay, and why do you use that? Explain why.
Yeah, to see the predictability, is the team able to complete the committed stories at the end of the sprint or not?
Okay, thank you. And
release burn down is like, no, are able to complete the committed backlog items within the release or not?
Okay, thank you for that input. And then Ronki, would you like to go ahead and give it a try?
Yes, ma'am. I could say pair programming, like two programmers work closely together at one station, when one person writes the code while the other reviews the code. It's the two programmers, switch roles frequently, and that's what I would use again. And I can also say probably swarming, when the whole team works together on a single story.
Those are more of techniques.
Okay.
Yeah, more of a technique. So when we're looking at metrics, we're looking to measure.
Are you talking about the burn down charts and the burn up chart?
Yeah, and we're also looking at like time to build, time to deliver, return on investment, like customer satisfaction. So with metrics, it'll give you a quantifiable, quantitative numbers that you can measure.
Oh, okay.
So that's more what we're looking at. But those, what you're talking about is like techniques.
Okay.
Does anyone want to add to metrics that they use within their organization and why? I already gave some. One, again, was customer feedback and customer satisfaction. You can do that by giving a survey, or there's different ways you can do that, but that's one example that I have given. Does anyone else have anything they wanted to add to that question? Not everyone at once. Okay, I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your name?
Awunjia.
Say that again.
Awunjia.
Okay, Awunjia.
I think another valuable metrics that is normally used or I've used is cycle time and throughput. Normally, I would use that towards Kanban teams, giving me an idea of basically how much time it takes from, once the work gets started to when it's done, and also how much work is being done within a particular period of time, respectively, if you wish. So cycle time, basically, from point A to point B or point A to point Z, and throughput, how much work in total were we able to get done within a particular period of time. That's another metric that I have used in the past, again, with regards to working with a Kanban team.
All right, thank you so much for that. Did anyone else want to add something to that? Anyone else?
Let's go.
Everybody feeling good tonight? Everybody quiet tonight? Y'all tired? Oh, Fumi, please, Fumi.
Hi, no, I think I have a question because I don't understand the question, I
Okay.
guess. Because it says, what metrics do you use in what instance? In measuring the team performance, in measuring the work performance, in what instance? I think that's where I was struggling with.
Any metric that's measurable and why you use it. So if it's any kind of metric, like for instance, other than velocity and capacity, because when people say metrics, that's one of the first ones that they bring up. So the ones that I had gave an example of, and others that other people have, is like time to market, time to build, return on investment, stuff like that. But Margaret, would you want to go ahead and add something to that, please?
I know someone earlier said something about the burn down chart, and that's pretty critical because that allows you to make sure that they are, completing stories on time, and that at the end of the 2 weeks, you're going to be, you're going to have that product increment. So if I'm assessing my Jira board and I've seen that a story hasn't moved in 3 days, then I know, and they're not saying anything about it, but I can anticipate there is some kind of an issue. So, talking with the team, collaborating with them, getting them to speak up, getting them to, really address things on time is essential for that chart to burn down the correct way. Otherwise, they run into issues. So that's all I was going to add.
Thank you. Thanks for that input. Did anyone else want to add something to that? If not, we'll move on to the next question. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. The next question is, hold on, I can't even see what it say. Within what ceremony have you initiated any changes, and what were the changes? Within what ceremony have you initiated any changes, and what were the changes? Fumi.
Sorry. Okay, so this was during the retrospective. So during the retrospective, it was getting a little bit boring because I wasn't getting as much feedback from the team as needed, because they'll just come in and just say what went well, and just kind of go through the process of talking about what went well, what didn't go well, and what they want to improve and things like that. So in order to kind of do more team collaboration, I introduced, before we even started talking about what went well during the sprint, maybe like icebreakers. So things like, maybe I would have like a photo of different animals with different facial expression, put a number on it and say, okay, just think about this sprint and look at the photo of this dog and choose what number represents how you think the sprint went, and then tell us why. So let's say maybe there was a sprint, maybe there was a dog crying or something. Maybe someone would say, okay, I'm choosing that one because it was a horrible sprint because of blah, 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 whatever reason they want to give. So I think just introducing icebreakers like that before we actually dive in to discussing what has been very, very helpful for team collaboration, team relaxation, because not everyone wants to talk about things that don't go well all the time. So yeah, that's my contribution.
Thank you. That was a good one. Tracy, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah. So for me, one ceremony within which I've introduced changes is the daily stand-up. So essentially, what I noticed was people will have probably a ticket that will be in there for 4 or 5 days, and there were no updates. And I kind of found it redundant. I always tell them, if you won the lottery and went away, nobody can pick up your work. So we will be stuck here. So essentially, I recommended that team members add comments to their tickets. And if you didn't, while we were on the stand-up call, I will hold the call and add the comments myself. So you will be the one holding up the call. So eventually, team members started adding comments, and we were able to track progress. There was visibility. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing that I would like to add that I've done, so during daily standout, what you can do is, so you want your team to eventually be self-organizing and learn how to run their own daily stand-ups. Not all organizations do it, and not all teams will be willing to do it, but every now and then I will let someone else run the daily stand-up, just in case for some reason, if I'm running late or if I'm off unexpectedly, I don't have to get another scrum master from another team to do it. So sometimes I coach some of my team members to help me. They don't even know that that's what's really going on, to help me in the event that I can't be there. So I teach them how to run the daily stand up on their own. I don't do it all the time, but I always want to make sure that someone within the team is able to carry on in my absence, my unplanned absence.
Okay.
Did someone have something they wanted to say? Okay, I don't see any hands, so we're going to move on to the next question. So the next question is, how do you approach the product owner when you notice the product backlog has not been updated? So a hint is you can use the deep prioritization method, which is detailed appropriately, estimated, emergent, and prioritized. You don't necessarily have to use that. That's just something that I put on there. So again, the question is, how do you approach the product owner when you notice the product backlog has not been updated? Everybody gone to sleep now? Did anyone want to add something to that? Okay, so we all know that, prioritizing the backlog is very important, because without that, we're not ready to go into the next sprint. So periodically, we need to check on the product owner to make sure that the product backlog is healthy and in good shape. So that's something that we want to do periodically. We never want to be caught without the backlog being prioritized. Humphrey.
Right. So what you're mentioning is what I do is that's what the backlog refinement sessions are for. And I always, because you have to maintain the cadence, right? A team that maintains a backlog cadence, when backlog refinement cadence, and what I mean by that is you get that at least every sprint. At most, you could do it every week, but every sprint you go through this backlog, and it's the product owner that you're the one really trying to get the product owner to speak on the items there, have that interaction with the rest of the team, and hopefully you get your backlog in a healthy shape. So yeah, so just to kind of tag on what you were saying, Chanel, backlog refinement, definitely a way that you can approach a product owner by just making sure that we're on task of keeping that backlog in order.
Thank you so much, Humphrey. Mo, would you like to add something?
Yes, Chanel. Good evening, everyone. In terms of updating the PO, whether if your backlog is updated or not. So for me, I normally used to have meeting, like today I had a meeting with my PO. So that meeting name is backlog management. So we normally have that meeting before our refinement meeting, 2 hours before our refinement. So I'll go through all the items in the backlog, and looking at all things that we have to discuss with the team. And from there, we move to our refinement. And the following Monday, we have our planning. So in terms of updating, I always have this one-on-one meeting with him, which is the backlog management meeting with my PO every sprint.
Thank you so much. Did anyone else want to add something to that? Okay. All right, so there's no hands raised at the moment. So we're going to go on to our last question, and we have 15 minutes. So the last question is, walk me through your day. So you'll get asked this question, like, what do you do all day? So when I'm asked this question, how I answer my question is based on what day of the week it is, and if we just close a sprint or what have you. Like, it was a Monday one time when I got a interview question about what did you do today. So I just made up some stuff about like what I did today. Like, for instance, I said we just closed a sprint Friday.
Yes, my day varies, but generally I start my day with facilitating the daily Scrum meeting, and after our daily Scrum, I go into Jira to track the process, the progress of work, and make sure that the updates being provided by the team member aligns with what we have on the Jira to track the progress of the work. And if there is any discrepancy, I'll reach out to the developer to update the system. If we have any backlog requirement section, we have our backlog requirement section twice a week. We refine, estimate, and add details to our story, which are facilitate. And also, I work closely with the product owner to help manage the backlog and also make sure that the product owner is available to answer a series of questions or any question during the sprint, and follow up with the team for any impediments, and provide ongoing coaching to the team members as warranted. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to answer that question? Saint, thank you. Saint, please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for that question. I start my day by checking my mail and my calendar to see if I have any mail from my developers or my product owner or stakeholders. I also check my calendar to see meetings and one-on-one that has been scheduled for that day. And if I have meetings or one-on-one, I take time to prepare for that, and then move ahead for the daily stand-up. I'll go for the daily stand-up. We have backlog refinement with my product owner. I work closely with my product owner twice a week, and we also schedule meetings with my product owner and the tech lead once a week to it will give the product owner more idea or clearer picture of the technical aspect of the product, and any questions that arise from the technical aspect instantly, we always clarify to the product owner, so as we'll be having a healthy backlog, and while our developers are constantly working on the back, getting a clear and a healthy stories on the backlog. And if we are not having any ceremonies apart from daily stand-up, we just track and see what they are doing on Jira. I track and see what use the Jira to just check and see how our team are going, if we are going to meet the sprint goals and the scope, and we are still working on the scope of the sprint for that sprint. And if there is any impediment, I will follow up and make sure I resolve it. And if any of the developer is having issues or lacking behind, I schedule a one-on-one with him or her, and if need be, I have to make an arrangement with other developers to see if we can get a knowledge transfer and schedule a kind of what is it called now? Yeah, I think that's how my regular day. That's how it always go. That's how it goes. Thanks.
Thank you. You.
Yes, my day really depends on my the stand-ups. It changes every day. So I'll tell you what I did yesterday. I started off the morning with checking email and my Jira board, and then had the daily stand-up. And we discussed the various impediments during that meeting and in the parking lot. We just so happened to have a meeting with the infrastructure team to discuss our current issues with the server timing out. Then after that, I had a small break. And then I had my weekly meeting with my PO to discuss the different items or user stories that we would be grooming in preparation for our team meeting of the backlog refinement. Also earlier in the day, I had a list of impediments that I prioritize, and after that meeting, I continued to focus on my to-do list of my impediments. And then towards the end of the day, I would look at my burn down chart to see if there's been any progress, do some do some notes and some note taking inside Jira, and make my to-do list for the next day.
Thank you so much for that. Are there anyone else want to add something to that? If not, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Okay. All right. So again, to this question, there's sometimes no wrong or right answer to this. Just make sure that, when you're explaining your story, that you just have it a well-crafted story, and just have a timeline of what you do in the day, because no one can really tell you what you do. Just make sure you touch on, some major points of what your day really consists of, because that's what the interviewers are looking for. They're looking for how to keep us busy for 8 hours of the day, and we want to, show our worth and how we're needed. So that's pretty much kind of, the element of answering this question. So I don't see any more hands raised, and we have 8 minutes left. So I think that I've met the time box. So that kind of sums it up for me. And I want to thank everyone for allowing me to facilitate tonight. And thanks everyone for participating and being here. And that's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.